Ladies and gentlemen,
everybody wants the prize, but nobody wants to pay the price.
Can they be pushed? Do they have a sense of urgency? Do they want to be great?
And then, of course, you look at them and be like, yeah, right.
Everybody wants to be on your team when you're on top.
I saw the angel in the marble and I carved until I set him free.
But the most important part of the Be Somebody journey is the resilience.
Welcome to the Be Somebody Podcast, your real and raw destination for all things entrepreneurship, leadership, and culture, with your host, Vikas and our CEO and founder of Besomebody Inc. and BSP Group International, Kash Shaikh. Welcome, everyone, to the first episode of the new Be Somebody Podcast. We are so excited to get this going with all of you. It's been a long time in the making, and for those of you who've been a part of our community for a while, it's actually the second time we've launched a podcast. We were one of the original inspiration and entrepreneurship podcasts 5 years ago, back in our old Be Somebody days of black t-shirts and passion platforms and experiential learning apps. We took a multi-year hiatus, and now we are back better than ever, ready to help guide you through building your own business or nonprofit or team. We're going to focus on three things with this podcast: entrepreneurship, leadership, and culture, which are three things we are grateful to have learned a lot about over the last decade or so. At Be Somebody today, we are blessed to be one of the fastest growing companies in the country, named one of America's top private companies by Entrepreneur Magazine just last year. Our business model has changed, our services have evolved, and our focus has shifted a bit, but that passion that we started with is alive and well and still on fire. And another thing that's still on fire is the man seated next to me, the leader who started it all back, nearly 10 years ago, a guy who has led our company through countless ups and downs, and as he says, almost got knocked out, but picked himself up, spit the dirt out of his mouth, and kept going to now not only be someone who succeeded in the corporate world and in Silicon Valley with Procter & Gamble and GoPro, not only someone who's won numerous awards like Adweek Market of the Year, PR Week 40 Under 40, Business Courier 40 Under 40, and Google's Rising Star for Entrepreneurship. Not only someone who spoke on multiple TED stages and at over 200 schools and corporations around the world, but someone who's now built his own multi-million-dollar company without losing his own values, principles, and passion for helping others. My man, Besomebody Inc. and BSP Group International founder and CEO, Kash Shaikh. What up, Kash?
Damn, Vikas about to run through a wall, man. Reminds me of the old days, man.
Oh, yeah.
Going around the country, going around the world, talking to people. But it's so awesome to be with you, Vikas, because the last time that I was sitting here behind the podcast mic was about 6 years ago.
Wow.
And now, obviously, the set has gotten browner. We've multiplied the brownness. We got two nice South Asian leaders here leading it. But it's exciting to be back here because so much has happened. And Herb, we gotta go. We gotta cut to the original Be Somebody podcast footage here so people can see the early days, because we used to wear the Be Somebody t-shirts. I mean, I wore those t-shirts because you remember.
Evolved, right?
Yeah,
it's evolved.
I used to wear those t-shirts every day for about 3 years.
Yep.
And I used to wear coats and things back in the corporate days with Procter & Gamble, and now it's crazy how things come full circle.
Oh,
right?
yeah, full circle, man. I have like 3 of those Be Somebody shirts, love them, wear them every weekend.
And I remember one of the tours that we were on, we used to go speak at these college tours. Yeah. And I remember coming to Cincinnati.
Yep.
And by the way, we're in Cincinnati, Ohio, guys. We're in Cincinnati right now at our headquarters. Yep. But I remember coming here in 2013 and you coming out to one of our events.
I remember that day so well. It was pouring rain, but tell us a story, man, because it's a great story. I love it.
I thought you were going to tell the story too. Like you did, but it's going on to me. No, but no, we're going. No, so that you coming out there, and it's just it's a beautiful thing, because we always say everything comes full circle when you follow your passion, and this is one of those moments, man. Because you came into our tour bus. I remember that it was pouring down rain. You said, how can I help? I said, hey, there's a DJ table over there. You started DJing. We got the crowd hype a little bit. You came inside and you're like, how can I help? Can I give you some money? I can give you some Indian food, whatever it was. But I appreciate that. And now it's cool to be back here. It's not just the location, the timing, and the attire that's evolved. The powerful part of how we've evolved is where together we've taken the business, and and what we've been able to do through the ups and downs, how we've been able to persevere, you know, and that resilience that has enabled us to get to where we are today. Right. And as you all know, hopefully, you know, some of you guys listening have been Be Somebody followers, Be Somebody community members, Be Somebody ambassadors for all these years. You know, hopefully you guys always know that everything we've done has always been to try to create content that helps motivate, inspire, educate, help people, you know? Oh, yeah. And what we wanted to do with our new Be Somebody podcast was take that to the next level for those of you who are passionate and interested and committed to building your own business, leading your own teams, you know, creating something beautiful. Yeah. You know, so the Be Somebody podcast that we're going to be in our rebooted Be Somebody podcast, take two, version 2. I mean, maybe it's version like 8.0 because it's been years, but the new reboot is going to be focused on 3 core areas. It's going to be on entrepreneurship, leadership, and culture.
Awesome.
And obviously, this is our entrepreneurial journey. And just to reintroduce the folks in the room, those of you guys listening, I want you to envision 4 beautiful people and one like not too good looking dude, because that's me. And those of you guys watching get to see it, but we got the characters in the room, the players in the room, the people that are helping build not just this podcast, but our company at Be Somebody Inc. and BSP Group International. We got Vikas Sandhi.
Glad to be here, man. Grateful.
Who's our Senior Director of Digital and Content. We've got Herbie Pallotta, who's our Director of Social Content. We scooped him, we poached him from down in Vegas, right, Herbie?
Yes, so glad to be here. So glad to be here.
Used to be leading content for casinos down in Vegas. We've got Josh James, our head of videography, who's a local Cincinnati product, who's somehow set up about 17 cameras here. And we've got Samit Patel on the 1s and 2s over there, making sure the audio is tight and bright. So this is our group here. We're going to be together bringing you guys what we hope is useful information, powerful information, inspirational ideas for you to go do whatever it is you want to do and build something that you're proud of, because that's kind of the journey that we've been on here at Be Somebody.
Right. And Kash, just to take a step back for all of our listeners, I mean, you talk about the journey it's been, you know, just from the podcast 6 years, but tell us, let's take a step back a little bit. Let's talk about the journey. Let's talk about the ups and downs and the evolution that you're talking about right now.
Yeah. I mean, for those of you guys who don't know, Be Somebody actually started as my personal blog back in 2011. We launched it on 1/11/11, you know, just because we thought it was cool. My brother and I, Rick, thought it was cool to launch on 1/11/11, and since then it's been an amazing thing how that number of 111 has become this mile marker and this signal from the universe, which we got to talk about in episode 7 or something,
right?
To help us know that we're on the right path. But we launched as just the most simple black and white WordPress blog. Started on Blogspot, you know, back in the day, and it was just at a time where I had just turned 30, you know, I was just past my 30s or entering my 30s, and I was going through a breakup, and I was in a transitional part of my life, and I was working down the street here at Procter & Gamble, and I got an assignment to lead social marketing and digital marketing in developing countries.
Oh, wow.
And that was, at that time, that was actually all the low-income markets. So Latin America, you know, South America, Africa, Asia, the Middle East, Eastern Europe, Africa. Did I say Africa?
Yeah.
Did I say Africa? So, you know, and I had the opportunity to spend 2 years going into these countries and meeting these people. And on the business side, launching products and building brands and doing a lot of things that, you know, helped me learn a lot and progress a lot in my career. But the personal side really changed my life because I got to meet all these people and experience all these cultures that really reshaped how I thought about life. There's so many stories that we could talk about, but I want to keep us on track, Herbie.
That's right.
But those were the early days of Be Somebody because I started to get so inspired by all these people. And I started to see that we're all a lot more similar than we are different. And I saw that there's a lot more that unites us than divides us. And I said, how can I just start sharing these stories, sharing these feelings? And we started with the Be Somebody blog in January 11, 2011. kind of wrote that, built that content for about a year, ended up leaving Procter & Gamble. And for those of you who don't know, Procter & Gamble is the largest consumer products company in the world, largest advertiser in the world, a $90 billion company that's based here in Cincinnati. Tide, Gillette, Pantene, Old Spice, pretty much deodorant, detergent, but left there to go lead social marketing at GoPro, and continued to write the blog and be passionate about Be Somebody while we built this very successful startup that became a $1 billion IPO at GoPro. And long story short, ended up leaving GoPro in 2013 to, at the time, what I thought was reverse engineer traditional brand building. So most people, you start with the product, right? You start with the product and you define it and you call it something and you say, its benefits, and you try to go sell it. And this was the early days. This is 2013. Yeah. I wanted to flip the whole model and start with the content and the community. And I wanted to own an emotion. And I felt like, because see, back in the day, I don't know if you guys remember, like when Coke started coming out with their Open Happiness, commercials with the polar bears and little things. And Coke started to try 50, 60 years, however many years, decades after its launch, tried to own happiness. They wanted to own this feeling. And I said, it's so hard to own a feeling when you started with a bottle of soda, sugar water or whatever it was, And I said, what if we flipped the whole model and said, hey, what's the feeling that we want to own? And build a community based on content around that. And then let the community decide what the product is that we create. And that was the mission. A lot of people thought I was stupid because I left a company that, had a lot of, that was doing well, was the hottest IPO in 2014, was going to be, was making a good salary, had a lot of stock options, all that stuff. But I left on the table to pursue this. And people thought I was kind of dumb, and I probably was a little bit, but it was really, I was very passionate about trying to create this model. And anyway, left 2013. Yep. Went around the world for a year. Kind of bootstrap, cashed out my 401k, took the penalty, and funded a trip around the world with different people, different volunteers. We did music festivals, we did fitness competitions, we did art exhibitions, spoke at over 250 schools around the world, literally in villages in Africa and right here down the road here in Cincinnati, Ohio. Spoke at UC when you came and DJ'd on the turntables. And really just tried to build this community about the emotion of passion. Wow. And really personal passion. Because when I started sharing, I kind of skipped a couple years in the story, Vikas, but I actually started sharing the Be Somebody hashtag in 2009.
I remember that.
Yeah, on Twitter. And it's funny because I was with a friend last night and he came over to my house and he's like, I remember when you started sharing this hashtag and you would come to my house in Chicago when you would have a business trip and you'd be like, man, people are really connecting with this hashtag. Yeah. And it was, and obviously now the way I'm talking, it sounds archaic, but in 2009, nobody was really thinking about hashtags. Right. It was just, Twitter was just starting to pop off. Yep. And because I was traveling the world at that time on behalf of Procter, I was sharing things on Twitter quite a bit and hashtagging it Be Somebody whenever I was inspired, and that's where it started. So I skipped that part. Maybe Josh just flip it around and whatever, but or Let It Ride, it was real and raw. Yep. But anyway, so we started sharing that. I saw people connect with it. Yeah. And I saw the powerful part about this term Be Somebody is that it was abstract, but it was intuitive, and it was instantly personal to people. It was about you and what you loved. And I said, it took me 2 years, 3 years to figure out what the was this like emotion? And I realized it was personal passion. And I said, okay, so let's create this content and this community around it. Did that for a year. Ended up building a content machine that was touching about 10 million people around the world a month. Wow. And now, Herbie, this was in the early days where Facebook, where you could actually post something and people could see it.
Right. Barely remember those days.
Yeah, because now, those of you guys who know, everyone owns a small business, anyone's got a personal account, you guys know that there is 0% organic reach on Facebook. If you have a business account, you got to put some coin down to get anybody to see it. Yep. Back in the day, in the heyday, in the Wild West, just from, the old frontier of social media, people saw your shit, it didn't, you could post it. So we were growing fast. Everything I was writing was blog posts. It was inspirational visuals. It was video content. People, thousands, tens of thousands of people were seeing it. Yep. So we ended up building this community of 10 million people. And through those conversations, I came up with an idea to create the world's first passion-based platform, learning platform. And it was an experiential marketplace where you could learn anything that you were passionate about by booking an experience with an expert in your city. And so we built this, basically end up raising money, actually raised $1 million from a company down here, down the road here in Cincinnati, brought on some other investors over the years, launched the world's first experience marketplace in 2014. Opened up an office in Austin, all this type of stuff. I'm skipping stuff, guys, but just Google it, all right? Go through, you'll see a bunch of drama too, but past all the Shark Tank stuff we'll get through and then you'll see. But we launched in 2014. Herbie, maybe, or Josh, we throw up a picture of the team in Austin when we launched. Everybody was popping bottles when we got into the app store, and the first few months were amazing. We were named the app that was going to take over Facebook by Entrepreneur Magazine. We had billions of impressions of media coverage. We had millions of people wanting to be a part of our platform and downloading the app, and it was an amazing time. But we after our early success, we ran into trouble scaling the platform. Just became really expensive, and a lot of what we felt in 2014, a lot of startups are feeling now. I'm just talking to a friend whose company laid off a lot of people. It was another marketplace type company because of the amount of money you need to scale marketplaces. Because if you think about what a marketplace is, right, we had to build supply and demand in every city that we were in. Supply was the teachers, the instructors, and we had everything from pottery to skydiving to wake surfing, depending
it was an awesome platform. Awesome.
Yeah, we had over 400 different experiences that you could learn from. And then the demand was obviously people that were passionate about something. And we had to learn everything from pricing to how to market to how to have the right, instructors on board, the training programs, in addition to building the mobile platform, obviously. So in 2015, we launched in Austin. It was very successful. Texas was successful. Getting out of Texas, getting to New York, getting to LA, getting to other cities, trying to make it here to Ohio became very challenging, became very expensive. Because if you think about it from a marketing or almost a performance marketing, I'm looking at Herbie because this is what he does for a living, is like we had to basically create campaigns on every passion area. Target people that would like pottery, target people that like skydiving, target people that like mathematics, because that was a passion on the platform. And it became very expensive. Yeah. We got into this cycle of raising money and long story short, it didn't feel like we were going to be able to scale that platform. In 2016, I decided to pivot the platform. And basically at that time in America, it was an election year. There was a lot of talk about jobs. There was a lot of talk about the skills crisis. That actually there had never been more open jobs in American history than there was in 2016. There was almost 7 million open jobs in the country, but only 20% of the applicants had the skills they needed to get those jobs. And I was listening to all this, and I ended up meeting somebody in New York, meeting somebody in Boston. I started going to the Boston area a lot to meet with instructors and professors and leaders at Harvard, at Tufts, at BU, to learn about what was going on in the labor market. And I said, you know what? We have an opportunity to pivot the company, take everything we learned about bringing people together on learning experiences, and reposition it to help them learn the skills they need to get these jobs. And it was a massive pivot because we were teaching people skydiving and pottery, and then we were going to go teach them how to be like pharmacy technicians and dental assistants.
That's a pivot.
Yeah. So as you can imagine, most of the company, the team, was not super excited about it. A lot of people left. A lot of people, we parted ways, or and some people we had to let go that weren't on board with the shift. Definitely was a risk to do it. In between, we had a little bit of an appearance on Shark Tank, which we could talk about. I think that's next episode, right?
Episode 2. That'll need its own episode. For sure.
That needs a whole. Yeah. That needs a whole. We're gonna have Mark Cuban on, right, Herbie?
Absolutely.
So
already got him booked.
Exactly. But we end up pivoting. at the time, the number one job opening in America was a pharmacy technician. And I was doing research and, had all this criteria and protocols of what type of training we could do, whether it's vocational, entry level, all that stuff. I did all this research, found pharmacy tech, was searching it on my computer where I had the biggest job openings, and lo and behold, full circle moment, the number one company for hiring pharmacy techs was a company called Kroger, the Kroger company, that was based in Cincinnati. Yep. Back where the whole journey started. Because I had left, Cincinnati, go to San Francisco with GoPro, went to Austin when we started, Be Somebody, and was in Boston at the time doing research, and ended up moving to Cincinnati because I said, I got to be here at this company's front door, knocking on the door nonstop to try to get in. And I was messaging them, finally got a meeting, finally got a phone call. A funny story, Vikas, is I remember when it was a Monday, and the head of business development at Kroger Health told me that they had they were open to a meeting for this nutrition technician program.
Oh, awesome!
Which would be one of our first pilots of this new jobs training, what we were calling Besomebody Paths. But I didn't have enough money in my bank account to catch a flight because it was such a short, time frame, 2 days. It was $1,300 for a flight. Wow! I didn't have enough money in my bank account, so I ended up taking a train from Boston down to DC, which was a pretty nice experience. It was like a nice train. And then I took the Cardinal Express from DC across the whole Midwest through West Virginia.
Oh, man.
All the way to Cincinnati Union Terminal, which I thought was a fucking museum. I didn't know it was like, I didn't know it was a working train station. Yeah. And literally I was pretty much the only person on the train. Got there about 7 a.m. It's a 9 a.m. meeting. Took an Uber to Planet Fitness. Took a shower. Put on a coat. Went in. Pitched the Besomebody Paths idea. Got the pilot.
Wow.
And the pilot was 4 jobs in Mason, Ohio. 4 jobs. Now, Kroger employs 500,000 people, and they gave me 4 jobs for a pilot. But anyway, that was 2017. That was February 2017, was successful with the pilot, ended up having more jobs programs with Kroger, started expanding with hotel and hospitality companies like Hilton. We worked with Mass Mutual, did dental assisting programs. The pivot worked, the skills training. We were able to create over 2,000 jobs for Americans across the country. Wow. And really proud of that because our model, which I didn't talk about, the model was actually 10 times less expensive, 20 times faster, and a guaranteed job versus the traditional college model, community college model. We were less expensive than a community college, and community colleges still take 2 years. Our programs took 4 to 6 weeks. Wow. And when you graduated, you were guaranteed a job. So the pivot worked, and then along the way, as we were working with all these companies and corporations, we started to see other places that our team could add value on the business strategy side, on the content creation side, on the marketing side, corporate reputation, culture, all the things that we learned on the journey, that as we became strategic partners, we started raising our hand and saying, hey, we can help here. And they started asking us for help, and they started taking us up on those offers. And about a year ago, we ended up splitting off or creating a new company called BSP Group International, which today is really one of the only end-to-end, if not the only one. If you know one, send me it because I want to see them and I want to kick their ass. But the only end-to-end growth agency in the world that does management consulting, business consulting, and then can execute the strategies that you recommend in-house. So whether it's marketing, digital, training, all that stuff. We put all that under BSP Group International. We work with Fortune 500 companies and fast-growing startups. And we decided to make Besomebody Inc. a freaking podcast.
And that's where we are today.
Here we are.
I think we're going to continue, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Let's continue on. I mean, that story is super inspiring. I mean, from the ups and the downs and just, hearing it. Really, I get goosebumps just from hearing about it. And you talk about the one thing that you really wanted to own as far as the emotion, which was passion. And I connect really well with that because when in 2013 you kind of started, and when we met at University of Cincinnati, passion is really what helped me continue on with what I was doing. And through this whole journey, Kash, like, what would you say, what's like the one big thing that through this whole lesson that you've had, like, what's the most important thing that you could share with our listeners that if, you know, some of them are at the highs right now, at the lows, like, what's the most important thing that they could take away from this?
Resilience. You know, I thought the journey was about passion. And it was in the beginning. That was the spark that kind of lit the flame. But without the resilience, that flame goes out pretty quick, because there's so many people and incidents and accidents and bullshit and whatever you want to say that happen along the journey that extinguish that flame. That if you don't have that resilience inside you to keep going, you never get there. And, you know, in 2011, we created the blog. In 2012, we started reaching people. In 2013, left a fast-growing startup to try to build a community. 2014, that community reached 10 million people and raised millions of dollars to launch an app. 2015, we were called the app to take over Facebook by Entrepreneur Magazine. Hope that guy's fired, because he was, I mean, he was wrong.
We'll get him on the podcast.
Yeah, exactly. In 2016, I was dead broke. You know, I had literally lost everything. Everybody quit except for my brother on the team. We had a 10,000 square foot office park in North Austin, near in Lakeway. We lost that. I was pretty much living out of my van with my dog Love, and my brother was supporting, and I had to borrow some money from my mom to keep going. Was on Shark Tank, thought that was a good strategy. It was a reality TV show, and they went reality TV on it, and took some hits, which we'll talk about, you know, down the road. But the lowest point in my life in 2016, where I was like, you know what, I should probably hang this up, because I just can't do it anymore. I don't know if it's possible, you know? And something inside me just kept saying, keep going, you know, because you believe in what you're doing. And if you're willing, and I ask myself, am I willing to put in the work? Because if you're not willing to put in the work, it don't matter what you believe, right? But if I believe in it, and if I'm willing to put in the work, then I should keep going. And that's where this idea of the pivot happened, because I met people along the journey in that 2016 year. In 2017, we made the pivot. In 2018, we got our first $1 million client. In 2019, we became one of Entrepreneur Magazine's, ironically, back to Entrepreneur Magazine. We made their E360, what is it called? Entrepreneurship 360 list of best startups in America. We were the highest ever out of Cincinnati, and one of the highest ever out of Ohio. We won one of the finalists of best places to work. And we built a multi-million-dollar business. And today in 2020, you know, BSP Group International is one of the fastest growing companies, startups in this region, if not the country, because we decided to keep going, because we had the resilience to keep going.
Wow. That is powerful right there. Well, to all of our listeners out there, resilience, keep going. I know our entire team here is super grateful that you kept it going, because we're all here on the journey, and it's been one hell of a ride. So,
thank you, bro.
Story.
But hey, episode 1 of the podcast, I think we may have went over, we may not have. We'll chop it up. But I think next episode we'll talk a little bit more, because I know a lot of people have questions about the Shark Tank journey and things like that. So I was thinking, Vikas, if it's cool with you, we talk about that. And then what we're most excited about as we start getting into our cadence with the podcast is we are going to have some amazing, inspiring guests on this show.
Oh, yeah.
We are going to have CEOs of Fortune 500 companies. We're going to have leaders of startups. We're going to have people who got their ass kicked and kept going. We're going to have people that we believe in, that we believe you can believe in and learn from. It's Sunday night here in Cincinnati. We're busy and growing, but our team wants to take the additional time, put in the additional effort to create a podcast series that you can put in to your ears when you're running, when you're on the plane, when you're driving to work. Or what you can watch if you want to see these four pretty guys in my face, that will help inspire you to, like we said at the beginning, build whatever it is you want to build. My favorite quote in life, and we'll end with this, is a Michelangelo quote. And it's, "I saw the angel in the marble, and I carved until I set him free." It's about vision. It's about seeing something that no one else around you can see, and that people will even laugh at you or make fun of you or discourage you, discredit you because they don't see it. And that belief that you have, and everybody who's listening, I know you believe in something. I know there's something that you picture that's your angel in your marble. And what we want to do on this show is help you, enable you, and inspire you to keep carving until you set him free. Thank you, guys. Episode 1 of the books. Vikas, thank you.
Thank you, Kash.
Be somebody.
Don't forget to check us out and stay tuned. Besomebody.com. You can subscribe on all of your favorite podcast channels, Spotify, Apple, Google. Keep listening, and let's keep going. Be somebody.